Stratus Foods is the industry partner you can depend on when you're looking for the very best in fats and oils. Our team of expert researchers, developers, and innovators have helped countless businesses just like yours bring their delicious menus to life. With products that are reliable, sustainable, and ready to meet any challenge, you can fry, bake, saute, and grill with confidence. Stratus Foods, we've got you covered.
Chipotle takes a sales hit. Taco Bell is probably stealing your market share, and there's a good reason that you should consider serving more snacks. Welcome to Extra Serving, a podcast from Nation's Restaurant News. I'm Sam Oches, editor-in-chief, joined by my colleague, executive editor, Alicia Kelso. Alicia, happy Friday for us, Monday for our listeners. And I'm only making that distinction because there's a lot that's going to happen after we record this, that those who are listening will know what happened, and that is, most importantly, the Super Bowl. Super Bowl's coming up this weekend, Super Bowl Sunday. I'm so excited that the insert team name here won, because, of course, I was cheering for them. We don't need to pretend. Alicia, who are you pulling for in the Super Bowl?
I don't. This is like the least I've cared about the Super Bowl. I really hate that. I just don't care about either team, but I'll probably cheer against the Patriots just because they got Ohio State Buckeye coaching them.
Oh, yeah. I'm nodding because I also am cheering against the Patriots, but I don't like your excuse. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I do like Mike Vrabel. I can't do it.
I hear you. And with all apologies to my friends in the Northeast, I'm primed to root against the Patriots. Although you got to love that it's a completely new regime. Because, of course, I was the anti-Belichick, anti-Tom Brady. Respect, of course, what they accomplished, but I was just so sick of all the Super Bowls they were winning. And, as a Cleveland sports fan, I got to always go for the underdog, the ones that quote unquote deserve it. Seahawks, in no stretch of the imagination, are underdogs, but I just like the story of Seattle winning this and Sam Darnold having some sort of redemption and having the best first name ever. So that's why I'm hoping the Seahawks are going to win. And I'm hoping that as you guys listening to this, and wondering if we'll, speed on past this because you know exactly what happened. Hopefully you guys all know by now that the Seahawks won. Anyway, Super Bowl, not the only big event coming up, of course, Alicia. We've also got Valentine's Day around the corner. And these are big things I think we should point out because we've just gotten through Fern, although I say that skeptically because I'm watching snowfall outside my window again. And Fern has not gone away. I still have a mountain of snow next to my driveway. And the roads were clear. Now they're not. But Fern took a very big toll on the restaurant industry. I think you pointed out last week that Chili's reported Fern was going to be responsible for a $20 million sales hit for their system. If you think that's true of Chili's, just think about every other chain out there and the kind of sales lost to all that snow we got last week. So we know that right now the weather is impacting sales. And I say all that because with Super Bowl and Valentine's Day, could be a nice little tailwind for the industry, Alicia.
Ideally, and Valentine's Day unquestionably will be because regardless of weather, it is the second highest traffic day for the industry behind Mother's Day. And there's no reason to believe that won't be the case. In fact, I think by next weekend, Valentine's Day, it falls on a Saturday, which is great this year. But yeah, I think it will be, by then we'll all be ready to get outside. My trash can, by the way, from Fern, we have it up against our house and their snowbank was so high and then it iced over. We can't get our trash can to the curb. So it's like really dramatic. And I'm in Louisville. I'm Southern, it's like, I think I want to get out of the house. I can't get my trash to the curb, but I want to get out of the house. So next weekend, there will be some thawing, and I think it will be a huge tailwind for the industry. We have some pent-up demand. The Super Bowl is also a big boon, especially for those, spots that sell wings and pizza. We have seen a lot of the promotions coming from, especially those wing guys like B-Dubs and Applebee's. Bloomberg estimated that this year's Super Bowl will have 3% higher food and beverage sales than last year. So there's hope there. I also want to point the Olympics start tonight. I don't know if that's a huge reason to visit a restaurant, but I'm always looking for reasons. And again, we have pent up demand from Fern. And so go to your local restaurant and eat some wings and drink some beer and watch the luge.
Do a luge while you watch a luge. Hey, you go crazy. I don't know. I can't judge. Yeah, I'm going to make a prediction here, Alicia. I think this spring will be a nice solid quarter for restaurants, or nice solid season for restaurants, because I personally am just chomping at the bit to be outside. So if you've got a patio, if you've got a nice opportunity for some outdoor dining, my suggestion is to be ready to hit the ground running come late March, because people like me are going to be like, get me out of the house. I want to enjoy the warmth. I have never looked so forward to spring, and I don't care what Puxatawny Phil has to say. I want it to be right around the corner, and forget that guy. He's always wrong anyway. So I believe it. I believe it can be true.
We've got the World Cup coming up too.
There's a lot going on.
Late spring, I think that there is a lot of potential for some tailwinds here in terms of traffic. And, I guess we'll see.
We will see. All right, Alicia, let's talk about this week in earnings, because we had two big earnings this week, at least two, but two certainly worth talking about, which are Chipotle and Yum Brands. They both reported their fourth quarter earnings and full year results for 2025. And there was a lot to unpack from both. So let's start with Chipotle. Chipotle, obviously one we've been watching for a while. In that, we knew Chipotle was struggling, and we knew they had adjusted their forecast to say, hey, we think that this year is going to be negative. And sure enough, it was. Chipotle reported that for the fourth quarter, sales were down 2.5%. And on the full year, they were down 1.7%. Traffic was also down. However, silver lining, it did beat expectations. And so Wall Street, I think, was perhaps a little bit more optimistic than they could have been, simply because they beat those expectations. Alicia, tell me more about Chipotle's results.
What stood out to me from Chipotle's earnings is that CEO Scott Boatwright outlined a 5-point recipe for growth, noting that 2025 was a year of progress and resilience. And if that is a spin, he could probably be a DJ. And I'm not saying that to disparage. I adore Scott Boatwright. I think that, I think his plan is a right one. I think Chipotle is just kind of positioned in a wonky spot right now with the disproportionately high younger consumer that it has. But I don't know if 2025 can be. I wouldn't consider it a year of progress and resilience. So I think that this 5-point recipe for growth, he said, was meant to accelerate that progress. And he did not call it a turnaround plan, but the points in this plan are very clearly meant to turn some trends around that the company has been realizing lately. So it's not dissimilar to the plan that he put into place when he was named permanent CEO, at the end of 24, early 25, after Brian Niccol left for Starbucks. So if we could unpack that quick, number one is drive exceptional value via strong operations and culinary. And he has been pushing this all last year with his benefit over price, touting Chipotle's strong value proposition, particularly as it compares to its fast casual category peers. He has said on almost every earnings call that Chipotle is priced 10 to 15 to 20% lower than its peers in most circumstances. He has said that Chipotle is not getting enough credit for its value proposition. And so what he thinks is Chipotle's strong suit in terms of this value environment that we're in now is the fact that it has fresh prepared ingredients and, operational throughput and all that. They launched an initiative last year to make sure that operations were as tight as they could be, including everything down to clean restaurants. Mm-hmm. We've seen some of the commentary on social media that maybe has not been the case as much as it was in the past as they grow. Number two, evolve the messaging and that includes acceleration of new menu launches. We will see up to 4 proteins LTOs launched this year. Typically, Chipotle launches 2. We'll also see dips and sides. Boatwright said this is what their core customer wants. He said that customers who buy LTOs contribute more lifetime value to the brand. I thought this was really interesting because it is the opposite of what Chili's is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I intend on exploring that a little bit, a tale of two LTO strategies, if you will. But
Yeah.
we will see more menu launches here, and we will see this evolution of the messaging again to push that value proposition. Now, the messaging piece, there's a new ad. It's called Choices. It juxtaposes Chipotle's real ingredients and preparation process against like frozen, hamburgers and restaurants that have can openers in it. And it comes as Chipotle searches for a permanent CMO, on the heels of Chris Brandt's departure after 8 years last month. So
Right.
interesting timing there. Number 3, they want to modernize the business model. They are also hiring a chief digital officer and a vice president of emerging technologies. This modernizing of the business model includes AI, he said, which was a little bit interesting to me because Chipotle is no stranger to AI.
Right.
I mean, they've got the AI hiring thing. They've got an AI supply chain solution. But notably, Chipotle is also going to enhance its rewards program in the spring to include more personalized messaging. So, we'll see all this come to fruition as it hires new C-level executives to, facilitate these changes or accelerations, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Number 4, expand global reach. We know that Chipotle is aspiring to reach 7,000 restaurants in North America, also planning on doubling its footprint in the Middle East. It will enter new markets like Saudi Arabia and Mexico, Singapore, and South Korea this year. And number 5, cultivate talent. Boatwright touted the internal promotions that are, I think, over 85% across senior manager and above positions to the company. So what really stood out to me, other than this plan, Sam, is that I know it beat expectations, but guidance was a little concerning to me. It was flat.
Yeah.
They expect flat for the year, despite this comprehensive plan that I just, truncated, and despite weaker comps from 2025. And
Right.
so that makes me a little, hesitant to call it necessarily a win because they beat expectations. But again, we'll see.
Well, and I'm not smart enough to know like what goes into those forecasts, that guidance. But, sometimes I also suspect like, hey, maybe if they set a low bar, then, if they clear that low bar, it looks all the better for them. But, you can't really mess around with investors. That's you don't want to play around with expectations like that because it's obviously that's a very dangerous thing to do. But the cynic in me here, Alicia, is like, all right, there's nothing new here. This is just basically trying to tell investors we've got a plan. We know what we're doing. I think, as you kind of pointed out, like this is not so different from the plan they've already had in place. And even further cynic in me is also, we joke in our team Slack about, come up with a drinking game for the turnaround plans that every company is coming up with these days because everybody's got a plan. And for good reason. I mean, look, we talk enough about Chili's remarkable resurrection that was built on a turnaround plan, and they played it to a T with phenomenal results. So it's like, if you do this right, if you institute a plan, you play against it exactly as you say, and it works, then everybody looks good for that because you came up with a plan that was efficient and effective. But this one, it doesn't to me seem like there's anything so different from what Chipotle's already done. I think I worry about this LTO strategy. I think it could dilute Chipotle's entire sort of aura that they've developed over 30 years around like we're better, we're different, and we're when they've dropped some of the proteins over the last couple of years, it feels like an event. It feels like a big deal. Like we've got to go try that. If you ramp up your LTOs, it becomes less of an event. It feels less exciting because it's like, well, didn't you just come out with something? So I don't know. Simultaneously, just speaking as a consumer here, Chipotle is our go-to for Mexican food as a family because it is still, in my eyes, a good value. No disrespect to my friends at Taco Bell, who we'll talk about in a second, but like my kid, I don't take my kids to Taco Bell. Like Taco Bell is my I feel like just stuffing my face with indulgent food kind of place. Chipotle is it's Tuesday taco night and our family needs to eat something. We'll do Chipotle, and my kids absolutely love those little build your own taco boxes at Chipotle. I guess the point I'm trying to get at is that I think Chipotle really still owns that sort of, more sophisticated than Taco Bell fast food Mexican experience. And I think if they really lean into how do you get families like mine and yours, Alicia, to, increase our visitation, because I already depend on Chipotle a lot, that would be a good way to, to get a lot more repeat business. But they're facing battles on all fronts. And I don't think what they're facing is so unique from the rest of the industry in that middle income consumer has pulled back. Everything is expensive these days and something's got to go. And Chipotle is just one of those brands that has ended up, that visit has that extra visit to Chipotle has gone away. So this is why you and I are not CEOs of restaurant companies and have to come up with these plans. I'm just basing everything on my gut. Alicia, let's talk about Taco Bell and parent company Yum Brands. Of course, biggest restaurant company in the world, Yum Brands across Pizza Hut, KFC, Taco Bell, and Habit Burger. I'm talking globally, of course. And if we unpack the three main brands within Yum, they went 2 for 3, I think, on good news. Unfortunately, that third was, pretty bad. Pizza Hut. Let's start there because let's save the good news for last. Pizza Hut sales declined again in the fourth quarter and in all of 2025. They announced that they will be closing 250 locations in the first half of 2026. Of course, they continue to undergo the strategic review of Pizza Hut, and it will not at all surprise anybody in 2026 if Pizza Hut is sold. Just starting with Pizza Hut, Alicia, I mean, what more can be said? Pizza Hut, they need something to reverse their fortunes.
They need something. It's a bummer to me. I love Pizza Hut. They were down 3% in the quarter, comping negative 2% year over year, coming off the heels of last quarter, which I believe was down 6%. Just can't find the traction here. Now, the pizza category, to be fair to Pizza Hut, pizza category has been struggling for the most part throughout the past year and a half, except for Domino's. But, Yum announced a strategic review for Pizza Hut in October and didn't really provide a deeper look at the cards on this call, other than the Pizza Hut brand is going through a, quote, Hut forward plan, which includes those closures, those 250 closures and more marketing. That's it. That's all we learned from that. In fact, these Yum calls are really interesting to me in general because it's largely Taco Bell and KFC global, 95% of the call, which makes sense. They're the twin growth engines for Yum brand. They're vast majority of the operating profit. But I always get off those calls craving much more information, especially about KFC US. But Pizza Hut, they're not going to disclose that much more because the strategic review is proceeding. And they're just not going to disclose something while suitors are, examining this brand. I do want to say 250 closures is a pretty shocking number on paper. It is a drop in the bucket for the 6,000 plus locations that Pizza Hut has. I had to Google what that meant math-wise, Sam, because it's not my strong suit, and it's we are
word people. That's right.
It's like 4%, but it's part of that theme of bigger closures, large swaths of closures from various systems.
One caveat: didn't they open a net 400 plus locations in 2025? It wasn't that part of their
in the U.S.
Maybe that was globally, but they had opened a bunch. But now
they have been adding gross units globally. They only report gross units, so I don't know what their net unit.
440 gross units in the quarter, but that it's globally. Yeah, it's globally. So I mean, opportunity across all three of these brands for Yum. I mean, the potential and the wins are happening around the world and not here in the U.S. At least for Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut is gaining traction in several international markets after a pretty challenging 25 in which a couple of major franchisees in some, I think the UK was one market, mass closures that concentrated to 2 or 3 of those big franchisees. So it kind of skewed those numbers a little bit. But according to the company, Pizza Hut is making a significant amount of progress internationally, which is not a bad thing for the brand because its majority footprint is overseas.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just here domestically, it's just hard to figure out what happened. It used to be the biggest pizza player by far.
Yeah. And Domino's is just completely eating its lunch now. I mean, I think for the past 10 years, that's a tale of two brands right there. That Domino's has
Exactly.
been this rocket ship. And now Domino's is doing well over twice as much in sales as Pizza Hut domestically. And it's really wild to see the numbers and how these two brands have gone completely different directions. But Domino's has owned that value messaging. I mean, they have just completely owned value and baked the technology piece into value, right? Not only can you get our pizza cheap, you'll get it real fast, real easy. Pizza Hut can claim the same can do those same things. It's just that they don't own that message quite as well as Domino's does, I think, in the public sphere. So that's a challenge I think they're always going to be up against.
Agreed. And brand identity is a big deal here, as you mentioned, that Domino's has always owned value, but it's also Domino's has always owned delivery.
Yeah.
And Pizza Hut has not. And now, in the past 10 years, to your point, 15 years maybe, I think it's hard to understand what Pizza Hut really is.
Yes.
Well,
and I think we probably talked about it, Alicia, but I mean, I firmly believe they should go back and own who they were in the 90s, that full service experience that, I've said it as a millennial, I'd go there after church, after Little League games. I did book it. Like, Pizza Hut was a special brand to me, but it was a place you went inside and you sat down in the hut and you got that pizza. And then at some point they're like, we're going to go express. We're going to try to go delivery. And I think that's when the wheels went off.
It might be. They also probably had to, though, expedite that during COVID. So that's again, why we're not CEOs.
That's why we're not CEOs. Probably, that's what our podcast would be called, is Sam and Alicia are not CEOs, so do not trust anything they say. They're just going on gut reaction. Anyway, let's move on to Taco Bell and KFC. We got to talk about them. I mean, as hinted, they had some pretty good results. So Taco Bell globally sales are up 8%. KFC globally up 6%. Taco Bell 7% in the US, KFC 1% for the quarter. I mean, KFC being up 1%, that doesn't sound that impressive, but remember, this is a brand that's had its own turnaround plan, and it really starts to feel like maybe KFC has gained some momentum, Alicia.
Maybe. I mean, you know how I feel about my KFC from Louisville, Kentucky. Sure hard to know again, because the company doesn't zoom in on the domestic KFC business all that much. And they don't break out traffic numbers. We do have traffic numbers from Placer AI showing that traffic at KFC was down low single digits in the fourth quarter, with same-store sales up 1%. That makes us believe that maybe, we're flat, or some of that came obviously through pricing. That said, I'm not going to be dismissive of this progress. Certainly not. After 6 negative quarters, we want to see these same-store sales in the black. And this is the second quarter in a row in which KFC has generated positive same-store sales. I'm going to take that as a win again, because I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and I love Kentucky. But not having too much visibility in what is driving that. We do know that the global system for KFC is doing really well. It's a development machine. We know that Scott Mezvinsky, the CEO of KFC Global, and Catherine Tan-Gillespie are in tandem on this comeback plan for KFC US. We know Scott is pulling a ton of pages from his time at Taco Bell that was referenced several times during the call, which is what we want to hear. We do know that we will probably see a lot more innovation from KFC this year and beyond, because the company has created, quote, a global innovation hub. Now, I know I'm still bitter about them moving out of Louisville, but then moving to Plano, Texas with the rest of the Yum brands and the global KFC team means they can create things like the Global Innovation Hub. And what that means is, quote, a higher cadence of profitable, low price point value offers, expanded daily meals. So I think we'll see more interesting new news coming out of KFC, both internationally and leveraging that global system domestically. KFC is also rolling out, accelerating the rollout of its quench beverage lineup. This is, something that is in play in a handful of international markets. We know they ramped up recently in the UK. I emailed KFC to ask if it was coming here, and KFC responded when, not if. And that is a big tell for me. So I think we'll see the Quench lineup in some way, shape, or form. I think we'll be talking about KFC beverages more, like we did, like we are Taco Bell with Live Más Cafe, which now is above 30 locations. For Taco Bell, Sam, I don't know what else there is to say. It's plus 7%, by the way, lapped plus 5%. There's no other QSR doing this.
Right.
They are in a league of their own. They are gaining share across cohorts. It's a very simple, quote, magic formula of value and innovation. They have little categorical competition, unlike Pizza Hut, unlike KFC, but they're doing everything right, too. So we talked about Chipotle. We have to, I really think that Taco Bell is stealing some share from Chipotle.
Mm-hmm.
And Taco Bell just threw down the gauntlet even more in this quarter with their $3 Lux value. They had 5, 7, and 9 options. Now they've got 3. So they've got an even lower entry point for customers who can't afford the 9. And 10 items, it's just stunning how much they keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and to squeeze out plus 7 again on top of plus 5 in this environment is really, really, it's a case study as well. Like we talk about Chili's being a case study. I think this is a case study in consistency.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's interesting. We've talked about that flywheel in relation to Chili's. I think it's, true of Taco Bell as well. Once you get all these things up and running, like you can't stop it. It just keeps going. And I mean, I think if you look back again on that $3 price point with the Lux value menu, it's like, well, you can get away with that kind of stuff if your comps are 7% regularly, right? You're able to reinvest back into the business and have something like a $3 value menu that draws even more people to come in. So, I mean, it is fascinating. I think so long as value continues to dominate the narrative here, which we expect it to in 2026, Taco Bell is poised to succeed and is poised to pull that market share from Chipotle, to your point. And so, I fully expect at some point in the coming 2 to 3 years for Chipotle to come back and to, reclaim that middle income to higher income consumer, and for Taco Bell perhaps to come back down to earth. I don't know. Taco Bell is, to your point, is in a world of its own. Value will stop driving the bus so much, and you'll return to what we had seen, 5-6 years ago, when Taco Bell was more the value player and Chipotle was more that middle income and higher income consumer. But for now, with value driving the bus, you just see everybody flocking to Taco Bell. So we got to move on to snacks, though. We got to talk about snacks. We all love snacks. Alicia, what's your favorite snack?
I don't want to disclose this information.
Oh, you're embarrassed of your favorite snack?
I could just sit on a couch and slam some dark chocolate for hours. It's real bad.
Dark chocolate specifically, not milk chocolate. Get that out.
No, ew, not white chocolate. Dark chocolate. So, that is my sweet spot, and it's embarrassing how much we go through it.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, because I would put that in the category of desserts. Although, do we think desserts and snacks are the same thing? That's an interesting conversation.
I don't know. I think that's why we're not
come up with that, Alicia.
Why we're not CEOs?
Why we're not CEOs? Because we don't say desserts and snacks.
We can't define dessert and
this
snack.
Is like the conversation: is a hot dog a sandwich? Huh? Where do you fall in that? We got to start there. Where do you fall?
I don't know if I've thought about it, but I don't know if it is. I don't know that it is.
I say no. I think a hot dog is not a sandwich. Although, as somebody who for 17 years has had to categorize restaurants into neat little columns as part of, like, for example, now our top 500, you've got to put hot dogs somewhere. I think it falls into sandwich category, but I do not think a hot dog is a sandwich.
But
and
hot dog on a stick could be a snack.
I don't know. These are the big philosophical conversations that I think this industry deserves for us to have. But suffice it to say, I'll let you say dark chocolate as a snack for the sake of conversation.
What's yours, Sam?
I think Cheez-Its are probably the one that get me the most in trouble as far as, like, if I start, I'm just going to keep going. Pringles, I think that's their slogan, aren't they? Though, once you pop, you can't stop. Or who's once you pop, you can't stop? Is that popcorn? I don't know. But I have so I avoid it. I have to keep myself away. I will tell you, my toddler and pirate booty, it's like a drug. I don't know. I mean, all of you fellow parents out there know that pirate booty. It came in strong. I don't know when it showed up. Sometime in the last 5 years, I think. But oh boy,
it's like Takis. Like we have Takis, an endless supply of Takis in this house. And sometimes I'll sneak one. I'm like, it's fine.
It's fine. It's the same thing with pirate booty. I just say it's like a puff of air with cheese. I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, it just seems like there's no redeeming
kind of boring. Yeah.
yeah. Whereas Cheez-It, that's got some redeeming quality.
Or some dark chocolate.
The reason we bring this up, not just because we want to talk about what we like when it comes to snacks. As you have written about, Alicia, snack traffic is up 7%. And as you pointed out, Alicia, this is why you see a lot of these beverage brands like a Dutch Bros, Smoothie King. They're going hard into food because these brands that own the snack category, at least as far as beverages goes, that afternoon indulgence, that latte you get. Yeah, you might want some food to go along with that now because snacking seems to be something that customers care a lot about. Alicia, tell me more. Why are snacks doing so well right now?
Is beverage a snack?
Yes, I think so. I would say a beverage is a snack more than dark chocolate. No offense.
Okay.
A dark chocolate latte, now that would hit the spot. I would call that a snack.
I believe my go-to iced brunette from Seven Brew is dark chocolate based. Anyway, what's interesting about this is we have seen traffic eroded across the industry for well over a year now across day parts. Now, some ebb and flow. I think breakfast was actually up in November, but for the most part, traffic has been really hard to come by.
Yeah.
And new Technomic data shows except snacking. And as you mentioned, 7% is nothing to sneeze at.
No.
And so what is happening here? Well, according to our partners over at Technomic, consumers like to use restaurants, and consumers have shown habitually over the past year and a half, especially since mid-2024, they aren't able to do so because menu price inflation has really outpaced general inflation 2-3-fold.
Yeah.
And so they still want to use those restaurants so they satisfy their cravings with something that is $5, $7, $10, and that tends to be those snacking occasions more than meals. Now this pendulum might swing as the value environment continues, as the McDonald's of the world continue to push their $5 meal deal, and there's $8 extra value meal and so on and so forth. But for the most part, snacking is up because we just want to still get our food service fix at a lower price point that we can manage now with a lower overall discretionary income. And that, again, to your point, we're not just seeing Smoothie King push into food, but also Dutch Bros, Starbucks, their investor day was an awful lot about food in there. Now, they've always sold food, but we're going to see a lot more here. And even some of these traditional food players like Chipotle with their high protein menu, that protein cup for like less than $4, that's a snack.
Right. Yep.
That also speaks to the opportunity with snacking as it pertains to the trends that consumers are also gravitating toward in the high protein, high fiber, healthy or perceived healthier, the GLP-1 users, which is like almost 20% of households now almost.
Yeah.
So, GLP-1 usage, I think, is a big factor here. And I think it will continue to be as those drugs become more affordable, more accessible. What is really interesting to me about this conversation, Sam, is last year there was data again from Technomic. And this last year, before the value environment really accelerated, there was data from Technomic that showed restaurants are actually losing snacking share to grocery. So since 2021, retail snacks were up 5 points, while food service snacks were down 3 points. So you have to wonder, with the advent of GLP-1 users, the intensifying value environment that is pushing people to lower, more accessible price points if that is
Yeah.
going to either correct itself or change.
To go back to our kids, Alicia, I'm sure you see this too. I mean, I did not snack when I was a kid like what my kids do today. And that was not our doing. I mean, to some degree, it was like, in all the parenting books and stuff we read these days, it's, we're sending our kids everywhere they go with water bottles. And I never had water bottle. When I was a kid, I didn't cart a water.
You have one now.
I have one now. Thank you, Alicia, for the accidental send to my house. But like also with snacking, it's like, I mean, I got a snack drawer and my kids just on the regular are just pulling snacks out of it.
Yes.
And we sit down for a meal and they're like, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you've been snacking all day. And I say this because I know I'm not the only parent with this problem. And I really believe this Gen Alpha coming up, I think they could blow this whole, like all of the whole day part conversation wide open. That you already see us going in that direction. I think Gen Z's had a lot of this too, but it's like, I think we're going to have a lot more like 5 meals a day, but smaller meals, smaller portion sizes, especially with the GLP-1s versus the traditional 3 meals and the larger portion sizes. So I'd say if you haven't yet, jump on the snack bandwagon, because I think this thing's going full steam ahead.
I agree. I love your Gen Alpha point. I live with it. We're anecdotal here, but yes. I think it's a thing. And
remember, it's our gut feeling. It's not our expertise. We're not CEOs. Don't trust us.
Thanks for joining us today on Why Sam and Alicia Are Not CEOs.
I hope you learned something, but if you didn't, that's okay too. Yeah, we'll keep this nice and short for you. On that note, that's all we've got for you today. Alicia, as always, thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
Stratus Foods is the industry partner you can depend on when you're looking for the very best in fats and oils. Our team of expert researchers, developers, and innovators have helped countless businesses just like yours bring their delicious menus to life. With products that are reliable, sustainable, and ready to meet any challenge, you can fry, bake, saute, and grill with confidence. Stratus Foods, we've got you covered.